Good morning.
Good morning.
Many of you know that I was in a television show called Shark Tank because I shared that story here several years ago. For those of you who weren't here who have no idea what the Shark Tank is, it's a reality TV show where an entrepreneur can seek an investment from 5 venture capitalists that they call sharks. And I was on the show in 2012 with my product called the Shono Towel. It's a bath towel, it's a beach towel, it's a cover-up, and it's a changing towel, all in one. And I have to say, I kicked ass. I did pretty good. 3 of the sharks were fighting over me. One of them said, "You know what, I think it's worth more than you're asking for. I'll give you more money." Whoa. One of them said, "All right, I'll give you that same amount of money, but for less equity in your company." And the last one said, "You know what, I like you so much that I'm actually going to give you exactly what you want, and I'm going to write you a check right now." She wrote me a check, ripped it out, handed it to me. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. It was a true miracle in my life, especially at a time when I needed it most. My husband and I had recently lost our home through the recession, and we were struggling financially. And here I am on this TV show that I didn't guide myself to. It fell in my lap. And here I am being handed a check for $50,000. But after that happened, I have to say that absolutely nothing worked out the way I thought it was going to. The very next day after I filmed that episode, my new shark partner called and she said, "Shelly, I've been given a lot in my life, and now is my time to give back. I'm going to make your dreams come true. I'm going to do this for you." And I thought, "Oh, thank you." And she said, "But don't cash that check that I gave you. Hold on to it for right now. I don't know how we want to set up the business, how we're going to structure things." I didn't think anything of it. It made sense to me. And over the next few weeks, as we talked and we talked, my deal started twisting and turning and getting more and more contorted. And at the end, it didn't really look like anything that we'd agreed on when the cameras were rolling. And I was never able to cash that check, and I never received the investment. But at the same time, she was negotiating a deal with Disney parks so that I could sell my towel into their water parks and maybe even on their cruise lines. So I thought, that's fine. Give me my Disney deal, we're good. And also, my Shark Tank episode hadn't even aired on TV yet. And I was certain that once that happened, my business was going to blow up. Life was going to be good, and I was going to be rolling. And then my episode finally aired to over 6 million people. And my product didn't sell very well. It didn't. I was devastated. And sure, I brought in a couple $1,000s that night, but I owed a couple $1,000s just to get on TV. And I was so hurt and so broken and felt like such a failure. And I saw it happen over and over again. The money would come in and it would go out. It would come in and it would go out, and I could never hold on to it. But finally, a couple months later, my episode came out. We did a follow-up episode showing that we had made this Disney deal, and my family was flown to Florida, and we shook hands with the buyer, and I thought, okay, this is when it's going to happen. And I slept in a Mickey Mouse t-shirt for 3 months, and I knew it was my big moment. That's the truth. And that episode played, and it was a whole lot of nothing. I was told that my online sales weren't impressive, and although the 1,000 towels that they had ordered from me in their water parks sold quite quickly, they never placed another order. And that was that. And after 1 year of all of this crap, I was broken. I was so devastated. I felt like the biggest failure. And also I was angry. You know, I was really angry. I felt like the lotto winner that never got paid. It's like, what happened? God, you brought me this and it looks like this? Really? But you know, it was that anger that kept me in that business for 3 more years, wanting to prove every single person wrong. And it wasn't until 2015 when I had banged my head against the wall one too many times, I realized I just had to let it go. And I threw in the towel. In 2014, my family and I moved to Ventura County, and that's when I started coming to our center here. In perfect timing, just when I needed it. And I showed up here pretty broken, in not such a great state. But I started listening to Bonnie. I started hearing the truth. And I started coming to classes. And Bonnie would say things like, is it right or is it wrong? What's the answer? And everyone would say both, right? Yes. And at first I'm like, what? It's both? But then my heart started saying, both. Could there be a truth? Could there be a truth behind the facts of my failure? And I started doing the work. And I did a lot of work. I wish she was here today with Kim Bryson, who I love so deeply. And she told me one day, Shelly, you need a new pair of glasses, sister. You got to start looking through a new lens. Got to put on some new glasses and seeing it in another way. And so she gave me some glasses, and I started looking through my lens of truth and my lens of love. And you know, I started seeing it differently. So I decided to start applying that in my life. The first thing I looked at was this. Shark Tank failures. 10 products that didn't make it. Number 5, show no towels. Shelly Ehler crossed a towel with a poncho and got a patent for her creation. She licensed it to Legoland and Six Flags Magic Mountain. Ehler went on the show and walked away with $50,000 check in partnership with Lori Grenier. Fake news. Fake news.
Oh, yeah.
But the partnership had a bitter end. So I looked at that and thought to myself, failure. I was a failure. Is it true? Byron Katie, is it true? Do you know that it's true? The facts say that it's true. I know that I never made any money with it. Isn't that a fact? My heart said, maybe. Shelly, you created something from nothing. You got this idea, and you believed it with everything in your heart, and you saw it through, and within a couple of years, your product was on the Today Show. It sold in Legoland, in Six Flags Magic Mountain, in SeaWorld, in Disneyland. It was on Good Morning America. It was on The View. You want to call yourself a failure? Be proud of yourself. That's true. And then I thought more. But I didn't sell any towels. That had to be wrong. Shelly, you really think you were on Shark Tank to sell towels? You know that's not true. You were on Shark Tank to spread hope. And you did. You did, to millions and millions of people. And that was true. After I aired on that show, I received thousands of emails from people around the country saying, I saw you last night and you give me hope. You give me hope. I am so proud of you and what you did and accomplishing what you did with what you had. And if you can do it, I know I can. God bless you. You inspire me. You want to call that wrong? No, that's true. But I never made any money. Are you sure that's true? Gosh, Shelly, how did you and your family survive all those years? Guess that's true. Shelly, try and think of a time when there was something you needed that you didn't have. Try and think of a time when money wasn't there for you. Yeah, that's true. And I would remember times when I would literally order thousands of dollars worth of towels with no money in my bank account. And it showed up in perfect time every time. Yeah, I guess it's true. But what about my shark partner? That was wrong. That was really wrong. She's been given a lot in her life, and now's her time to give back. What about that? Come on. When she told you that, do you think she meant it? Yeah, I do. I do think she meant it. When she told you she was going to make your dreams come true, do you think she meant it? I do. I do. Do you think that she wanted you to fail? Do you think that she meant you harm? Was that her intention? No. Do you think that maybe after she had time to look at the product and evaluate it and send it overseas for evaluation and get pricing on it and realize that it was going to cost a lot more money than any of you thought to produce, and that there's only so much you can ask for it, and there wasn't a profit margin that made it a viable product? Do you think that maybe that's why you didn't get the investment? Do you think that maybe she's a total bad person? Or do you think she's a really smart businesswoman? And shrewd business people, sharks, make good investments that are going to return to them. Do you think that could be true? I guess so. Wow. My new lenses are working. Brought me to a place of peace and acceptance, which is really wonderful. And then a crazy thing happens. Last year, all of a sudden I start to hear this whisper that starts to say, Shelly, remember me. Shelly, I'm here. I'm like, no, go away. I hate you. Shelly, you love me. We could be friends again. And I'm like, no. But what I know is that when those whispers get louder, you got to start listening and you have to pay attention. And what I know for sure is that when I closed my business, I did so knowing that there was one avenue that I didn't explore. And that was this. When I aired on Shark Tank, something unexpected happened that I hadn't thought of. I started getting emails from people saying, this is the most amazing product for my child with a disability. I have a child, and it's very difficult to bathe her, and we have to line her wheelchair with towels. And now I can take my child in her bathing chair and stick your towel over her and lift her up and put her in her wheelchair, and it's been life-changing. And people started getting photos of children in my towels, and my heart just opened in a really incredible way. One woman wrote, and she said, I have a 21-year-old son. And she said, he has cerebral palsy. She said, do you, by chance, make a big one? Because I could really use this to help bathe him. And I wrote her back, and I said, I don't, but I'll make one for you. I will. And I did, and I sent it to her. And she wrote me back, and she said, bless you, you gave my son his dignity. And so as the voice comes back to whisper, it goes, you know what we're supposed to do. I made a big towel. But it came back with a different purpose, see. It came back with a purpose to assist those who need assistance and wrap them in love. In this February, I did my very first trade show in this space. It was called the Abilities Expo in Los Angeles. And I was so thrilled to see what a perfect fit it was in this space. The people that came. The people that came and told me how much my product would make their lives easier over and over and over again. It was beautiful. And I had this incredible moment where I realized I wasn't there to sell. I was there to serve. And then it's like all these lessons, all the teachings all came together, and I was like, yes, this is it. I made it. And so, now I'm at a point, I don't know where this is going to go. Reverend Bonnie asked me the other day, how'd your towel business going? I was like, it's not really going anywhere. I haven't been working on it because I have a lot of other things to do. But you know what I'm so grateful for? I'm no longer attached to it. I don't have to have it look a certain way. It can just be how it is, and God's the CEO, and we're just going to let it happen and flow, and whatever unfolds, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm so thankful for that. So I ask you today, knowing what I've shared with you, was it a success or was it a failure? Both, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? There was a greater truth beyond the facts, and that greater truth put me back together again. Thank you.
Thank you.